The first kingdom labor that he's calling us to now, post-Calvary, make the house fit for the king. And if that is all you embark on and the trumpet sounds, then you have done a good work. You have perfected the will of God. God says any labors that we do with dead works all around us, and we are ignoring those dead works as if they don't exist, and we are ramming into labor here and there. He says these dead works will still contaminate our labor, even post-Calvary. They will still contaminate our labor, and contaminated labor will be rejected by God. So the first post-Calvary labor to enter into is to bury the dead so that there is no outbreak of disease. Deuteronomy 21, read it again, verse 22. Otherwise, our life outputs will negate the cross, which powerfully worked on our spirit to get us born again. Why? Because the relics of that man, that Jesus buried their daddy for you, but you were not careful enough to bury his relics out of sight. So they now took over as if their daddy was not buried. You look at how sad we make God with all that he provided and did. If we insist on our own path of continuing with the relics of the old man, with all that Jesus went through, that he was stripped naked, stark naked for us. But that was the will of the Father for him. You say, but if I bury that particular habit, it's going to make me look naked. I will become so disgraced. It will look like a disgrace to me. What disgrace can any of us have that we ever compare to the one that Jesus had? The love of God must constrain us, sister. The love of God must start to constrain us from now. Verse 12, but this man, after that he had offered one sacrifice for sins forever, sat down on the right hand of God, from henceforth expecting till his enemies be made his footstool. So Jesus is waiting now and expecting that all these his enemies, and you know those his enemies are all the relics of the old man. To be honest with you, human beings are not the enemies of Jesus. The only thing that makes a human being an enemy of God is because he is a carrier of the enemy of God. The man himself, God loves him. God so loved the world. But when you become the carrier of the enemy of God, you make yourself an enemy of God as well. So when the Bible is talking about the real enemies, these are the sinful habits, the things that drove Jesus to the cross. They are the enemies. He says he has finished his own now. You know, he has perfected his own work. He has obeyed his own Father to the letter. He's done the will of his Father, even though it meant a lot of suffering. He is now seated. He's accomplished now, seated, and now expecting that the enemies, all the relics that these principalities and powers are dancing and marrying in, Jesus is waiting for them to be made his footstool. Now, sister, who or through who are the enemies going to be made the footstool of Jesus? It is through you and through me who have gone to Calvary. You are the one that God will use to bring the enemies of Jesus to become his footstool. In other words, when you bury them under the ground, they become footstool for Jesus. But if they are jumping on our head, they are saying to Jesus, you might have killed our daddy and taken him to the grave. But these ones, we are still jumping on their neck. We are not your footstool yet. So God is waiting and depending on me that in my own life, the enemies of Jesus, the sinful habits, the works of the flesh, the dead works will be put under his feet in the ground where they belong.